Hi guys, so welcome back to our GMD tutorial. So this is the part 2 on how you create your custom widgets or the add-ins. So let's dive in. So first thing is you need to figure out what library you are incorporating to your web application. For this example, we're using the Picker by Simon Webb. And also this external library is an MIT license. So that's good. And we have also lots of features that we can play with. So let's start it with coding. So first thing is you need to define the resources. So on our resources package, we need to define the CSS and also the JavaScript. So I think here we want to find the distribution package right there, and then we need to grab this min.js. Okay, let's copy those. Let's put this into a raw, and then let's copy the the JS file, and then right here we can just call or the CSS. We can just add com github get material design client resources JS, and then right there you can just create a new folder, a new file, sorry. And we have also this another file, picker.main in the JS. Just create those files, and then let's grab this entire JS file and the other one. Okay, so once you define those, so what we need just to do next is locate the CSS. So what we need on the CSS are the themes, right? And then here, let's just open this into a new tab. Let's grab same thing. Let's grab the raw CSS files. Okay, so let's just copy that, and then let's just put it inside our CSS directory. Okay, grab this, and also we have also the monolith that mean that CSS. So let's grab those two, and let's copy this. Okay, and the other one. So we have the nano. So nano, grabbing those and paste it. Okay, so you have the CSS files needed for this color picker and also the JavaScripts. Next thing is we need to define this into the app resources. Here you can just mark annotate with source. Let's define the CSS first. CSS, and we have the classic that mean that CSS, and let's just call it text resource classic, or let's just add a prefix color picker classic CSS, and let's just copy this, add 5. We have also the monolith that means CSS. Let's just copy that, paste it there, and we have also the nano. So nano mean that CSS. Okay, and let's just copy it right here, replace that. And the other ones are the JS files. So JS, let's just add picker that mean that JS, and the other one is the ES5. So picker that ES5 that mean the JS. So let's just call this JS, and the other one ES5JS. Okay, ES5JS. So we have those. So let's just make sure that we don't have any type issue. So this is a JS, so let's just define it there. Okay, so next thing is we need to create our widget class. So I'll just make another package here. I call it color picker, and then right here we can just define our color widget class, color widget, or the color picker class. Okay, and then what we need to do here is we just need to extend this to material widget, and add a static import for the uh, resources. So what we can just do is material design this that inject CSS. We need to inject those three resources. I mean that three themes. So we can just call app resources dot instance dot color picker classic, and also the other one is um the monolith CSS and nano CSS. Right, so you have the themes added right there, and we need also to add the other one. We have the inject JS, which is our the picker JS, and the other one is the ES5. Okay, so you define all of this static imports. So what's next is to define your JSInterop, because right here we're injecting the JavaScript resources, and based on the library, if you go back here, you have some sort of Java methods. So you have a Java methods right here. I mean the instance for creating the instance. We have also the events and options and methods. So we have also the methods. So okay, so let's start diving in. So what we need to do is what I usually do is create a package JS to contain my JSInterop instances. I mean JSInterop JS type objects. So right here, let's create I added also a prefix if it is a JSInterop class. So I call it picker, for example, right here. And then what I need just to do here, I just annotate it with the JS type. So if you want to know more about JSInterop, I have created a wiki. Maybe I can just add this on the description below on how we convert the native JavaScript into a JSInterop one. Okay. So is native true, and then JS. I mean the namespace to be global. JS package dot global. Okay. And then what we need to do here is we have this JS speaker, right? And then let's look up into the implementation. So right here, we have the picker there, and we have a method create. So let's define this create method. Okay, so we have JS method, and then you can see we have a picker class there. So what you can just do is just add a namespace. So we have call it picker, right? And then we have the create. So public, that's static native, and then it returns the instance. So you see there. So we want to return also the instance. So JS speaker create. Okay, so that's, we don't need that. And then on the create, we need to provide our own custom options. So what we can just do is to create another JS type object. So we call it let's just call it color picker options. Okay, and then here we can just copy this, and then what's the difference is we need to provide the name. So the name to be an object. Okay, and then that's how we did the options. And then let's define this what do you call this option. So we have the element, so JS property L. If you don't want the name, for example, if you don't want the name because L on the clean code, I read the book clean code, so never define a short short name for every field and for every field variable. So on the JSInterop, you have the ability to provide the object name, but also you can also provide your your own field name. So I can just call it element. Okay, so that's how you override it. Next thing is we have also the theme. So JS property name, and then we have also the theme. So public string theme. Okay, and we have also the swatches. So the swatches accepts an array of string. So you can just call JS property public string and then swatches. And you have also components. So right here, it takes a parameter which contains a another object right here, interaction, right? So what you can just do here is create another an object of JS type. So here, let's just copy this, and then let's copy that, and then let's just call it components. Is that components? Yeah. So that's components, and then on the components, we can just define the properties we have. So here we have preview. Maybe let's just copy this, okay, so that we're not doing tabs all the time. Okay, so you have that. So what we can do in the components is add a just property of boolean preview. Then let's copy this into 3, and we have also opacity. You have hue, right? Okay, and then right here we have another object called interaction. So let's cut this now, and then let's just create another object, interaction. And then right here, let's just copy the needed properties. So let's just do this. So you have also, okay, so you have hex. So let's just count 2, 4, 6, 8. So you have 8. So let's add 8. Just copy paste. Okay, so you have hex there. You have RGBA. You have Hisla. You have Hisva. Semi input, clear, and save. Okay, so you have everything to be a boolean, so that's good. So let's remove this. Okay, so you have interaction, you have components, and the components need to be added into here. So GS property public components, and then let's call it components, and we need to make sure that we're just having that. Okay, and inside the components, we need to define the property JS property interaction, and then you can just add it. Okay, so we build this whole structure of the options on how you create the options, and then let's provide it on the JS speaker create, and then you can just color picker options, and then options. Yep, I think that's it. So you have the JS speaker right there. We provided the options, and then let's go back to our color picker. So into this, so let's create a constructor which doesn't define anything for the parameter, and then here let's call the super method, and then we can just create a div element, and then let's just provide a global class name for this. So I can just call it color picker, right? So you have the color picker right there. So what's next is on the onload. So we need to process, we need to initialize that picker instance, right, on the GS side. So okay, so call the GS picker that create. So this corresponds to this call, right? So you have picker that create, and then your options. So picker GS picker that create, and then your options, right? And then right here, what I usually do is just to provide the color picker options, and then options. So you provide the options and create a setter getter for it, so that other developers can override the options. And what I just did also is create a default options. So in order for the user to just make use of these options to create their color picker upfront, right? So I just created this just for the what do you call this? Just for the uh okay, just for the reference. So I just added those private fields. So let's create JS overlay. So this is where you can create your own custom methods, not for the native one. So you can just call static and then final color picker options, and then let's just define it. Oh, sorry, native static color picker options create. Okay, and oh yeah, it's not native. Final. Okay, and then here what you can just do is provide an element, right? And oh, sorry, that's not the element we wanted to. It should be the com client. Okay, and then right here, let's just copy that. Yeah, so element and element. So it's a string. So let's just convert this to be an element just for the type. Okay, so we have the element there, and then let's go back to our picker options. So you have the element there, you have a default theme of classic, you have swatches, default swatches, and so on. Okay, so into that, oh, I think we don't need this. Okay, into that, so we can just call these options right there. Upon initialization, you can just call color picker dot create and then get element. What it does is creates these default options. Okay, so what's next? What's next is we need also to store the reference of the JS picker in order for you to override the default behavior or access the methods and events register and event entry. So you can just call, let's just make this picker, and then we can just instantiate upon onload, and then let's get the picker object, I mean the picker JS object. So I think you have that. So we added the load methods right there. What's next is I think we need to test it now because we have the preliminary construction of this widget. I think we don't need we don't forget anything for this. So let's go back to our application view. On the application view, I discussed this with the previous tutorial wherein you can just add your own widget on the UI binder, color picker, and then URL import com.github.widmaterialdesign.client.color picker, and then right here you can just do color picker UI field of color picker, right? And then right here application view, and then you can just annotate it with a UI field color picker. Okay, and then let's test this. So go back to your browser and let's just go back to our material tutorial project, and then you have it. So you have the color there, you have the color picker. Okay, so that's good how it is. It's easy for us to define an external library on using JSInterop. So that's the future of Git. I think on 3.0, so we'll be using JSInterop all the time instead of just using the JSNI. So it's the old way. Okay, so what's next? What's next is we have this working. I mean the initial usage. What if we want to define our own events? So after we click that save button, we want to do something else, right? So let's just define this. So first thing is you need go back to your JS speaker JavaScript object, and right here you can just define a method, or yeah, you can just public native void on, and then you can just define this the event name and also the function to have okay, so that's the function callback, right? So right here let's just define this as JS method. So go back to your function, and you have the color right there, right? So have the color and also the instance. So what I did is just to make sure that, because this one lacks the documentation what objects the color is, if it is a string or a concrete class or something like that. So we need to make sure first to if you don't know what the object type is, you can just call it object, right? So, and we know the instance is the instance of the picker, so we can just get that and then put it there, right? So here I will show you later on how we inspect and then make sure that we create our own object class, a JavaScript class, to define this object. So on to the go back to your how you call this, go back to your application view, and then right here upon on attach you can just get picker dot on, right? And then right there you can just for example, once we save it, you can just call the save, and then right here provide the how you call this, the two options, which is the object and also the JS speaker. In reality, that should be color, but we don't know what the color instance is, so we need to inspect that. I will show you how you inspect. So using the console. So let's just do the material toast. Okay, and yeah, so you have that, and then let's just refresh here, and let's click that. Let's click save. You have the object right there. We don't know what's inside of it. So what you can do is go to your sources on your I'm using a Chrome now, so open file. You open up the one that you want to inspect, view, right? And then right here we have we need to make sure that we are adding a breakpoint to the inside of the lambda. And then right here, just do the same thing. You select a color and then save, and then right there, so you can see that the color has an alpha, a hue, saturation, and also methods. So into that you have the hint that you can define this as a JavaScript object, right? So what you can just do is on the GS file, you can just add color, and then just add just copy the object reference, I mean the notation JS type from the previous ones, and you have that, right? And then what you can just do is to copy this. So you have alpha, right? So I have property, I should consider renaming the A to be alpha. Okay, so public string, that a string, no, it's a double alpha, right? And then you have also the hue and saturation, so H and S, so hue and saturation. And you have also a method. So let's just grab the one that we need to, which is the RGBA. We can just call it at JS method public native void string, because it returns a string to RGBA. Okay, oh yep, so you have to RGBA right there. Okay, so you have defined it, and then what's next is you replace that object from the JS speaker to remember. So we don't initially convert this into a class type. So right now we're using a color object, right? And then right here on the application view, wherein we define our on I mean the event handler. So here you can just get, instead of just toasting that, we all know that we can grab the two RGBA. So that's how we did. So first thing, inspect which object you want to convert into a JS type, copy these properties, create your own JS type object, and then define it into our JS speaker function right here, and then on the method, so you can access now the properties that you want to show. Okay, so let's just refresh the page now. So let's refresh it, and once we save it, this should work. So once we save it, so you have the RGBA. So maybe we can just make this more reliable. I mean, we can just define a panel. So let's create a panel. So material panel, you can just result panel, and then let's just add a border of 2 pixels solid white, and then we can just add a width of 200 pixels and height of 200 pixels to make it square. And we have also a text color of white, and then let's define a material label, text results, result, right? So we just need to make sure we have that, and then let's just define this result panel on the application view, and we have that UI field material panel result panel. And then right here, instead of just toasting it, you can just get element that get style that set background color that get to RGBA, right? And then let's test this out. Okay, so you have the result there, you have just the color you want, save it, and then close it, and then you can just see the background color to be updated. And then what's next is because right now if you select on something, if you click save, it doesn't close, right? So we need to perform, we need to go back to our to the library that you're looking into, and then just go to the methods. And then here you have a lots of methods that you can add. You have the show, hide, disable, enable. You have also a return type of is open, get root, or something like that. So let's just uh add this hide method. Okay, and then let's go back to our JS speaker, and we have the events right there, and right here we can just add also public native void hide. That's how you do it. And if you want show also, you can just add at JS method public native void show, right? So you can add to dos is for you to have this practicing yourself, do it yourself. Maybe just do the remaining methods and methods and properties, because that's the next thing that you want to standardize, is to define all of these remaining tasks. Okay, and then on the go back to your color picker, the widget, and here what I usually do is I created this these methods. So we can just call picker dot show and picker dot hide. Okay, yeah, picker dot hide. So it's just a reference for that, and is of I mean is methods. So okay, so here, so what we just need to do is once we change the background color, and then we can just hide also the color picker dot hide. So that's what it does. So once we save, we change the background color and hide the picker. So let's just test that if it works. I hope it works. So okay, so you have that panel, you select for example another color, you adjust this and click save, and that should close the color picker. Okay, next thing, I think we forgot something, changing the themes, because we imported the three resources, the classic, the monolith, and also the nano. So what you can just do right there is what I usually do is create an enum class for, I can create a constant right here, constant, right? And then right here I just created an enum class, for example theme, color picker theme, and then let's just define a classic, and then let's pass on the string. We have classic right there, we have nano, and we have also monolith, right? So monolith, and then right here I could just create a string name, add the constructor, and then add a getter. Okay, and into this theme, what I usually do is create here, we have also, maybe let's just create protected theme, and then let's just create a setter getter for our theme, right? And into that, so what I usually do is maybe a setter only. What I usually do is, instead of doing that, I call it options that theme, and then theme that get name. Okay, so that it should be and let's just should be type safe. So on the application view, using UI binder, that's why I like UI binder, is you can just call theme, and then you can have a what it is, an option to do that, and then you go back to your page and refresh the page, and you can see that's nano, right? And then you can change also to monolith, refresh the page. Yeah, so you have the monolith, right? And that's how you do it. So I hope you enjoyed this workshop, this mini tutorial on GMD, on how to create your own widget with JSInterop. So I hope you watch also the previous one, which is just a simple wrapping a external library with just a simple CSS. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.